Good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening, everyone, listeners watching on YouTube or on LinkedIn. Thank you for joining this already 11th podcast. Today we have a ISV, a long-time ISV, a long-timer, if I can use that word, Printvis out of Denmark. Thank you very much for joining this podcast, Kasper. Also, Kurt, thank you for joining. Maybe well, let's start with you, Kasper, and then also hand it over to you, Kurt. For those that do not know you, although I think everyone knows you within the Business Central channel, but for those listeners or watchers that are not familiar with Kurt, we'll have him introduce himself in a few minutes. But Kasper, let's start with you. Who is Kasper Tromshoej, if I pronounce it correctly?
That was perfect, yes.
Thank you. I've been practicing. No, I haven't been, but thank you. Please tell me about yourself and about your business. Maybe also how long ago you started, because I might hear the word Navision when you talk about your business. Please introduce yourself and your business.
Will do. And first of all, thank you so much for inviting me, Ingmar. That's I really appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Long time in the business. Yes, I think I can say I can tick that one off. I think I started working with Navision, or it was even called Navigator in those days, back in the early 90s.
Wow.
So in the DOS version, yes. So I've been around for some years. In this constellation as an ISV with a vertical focus, which is what we do. We founded the company in 97. So that is 20 something years ago, 27 years ago, something like that. And has basically been doing since then what we are doing now, focusing on Navision, financials. I cannot remember the names. Dynamics Business Central is a product we are focused on, and what we're doing is a vertical solution, specifically target for the printing and packaging industry. When we started up the company, we, like so many other Navision consultants, had been used to the way of working that you would go to any customer with a blank piece of paper and lean back and say, "Tell me about your business." And then we would take notes and they would tell us what they were doing. And funny enough, almost at every interview, we would come with the same conclusion that the exact perfect solution for you is that you buy Navision, and then we will do a gazillion customizations to tailor a system just for you. And we would go into those projects, and that's what we would do. And then we sort of knew as a rule of thumb that such a customer would last 5, 6, 7 years, and then they would have outgrown the system, and then the circus would start all over again. This is how most people worked back then. And so our business idea was simply to say, let's focus on one industry and try to do a standard solution for that industry to make sure that we cover what is needed for one specific industry and keep customers constantly updated, because every time you update a customer, you had this 7 years period before they would leave you again, right? So that was basically the business idea when we started, and it's still the same we're doing.
Great. Just to understand correctly, Kasper, because you mentioned how you customized in the beginning, like every Navision Navigator partner.
Yeah, that was before we started the company, yes.
Even then. Was there a certain moment that you said, like, hey, it's economically makes more sense to go to more standardise?
Yes, I mean that was our business model. This we did from the day we started the company. So before starting the company, I was working as a traditional Navision consultant / developer. One of these guys that would go to the customer and do everything, and you could click, was it Control F2, and then you can just fix stuff and like that, right? So the business idea from day one when starting the company was to focus on standard systems based on a proven platform, an ERP platform, and then do standard software and selling it through a reseller channel. So I think today we are labeled as a vertical global indirect ISVs. I think these are the tags that fits us.
But it's quite unique that you mentioned, like, from the beginning you were like standardizing, because most partners I've heard, like, hey, we were going standardizing only when we needed to in the cloud world. But what you're saying, like, already in the on-prem worlds, you were standardizing your approach and having all customers or most customers on the same version the whole time.
Yes, yeah, that's the business idea from day one. I think also it's because, when we look at our competitors, we are in the printing and packaging world. So our competitors there are not Microsoft companies. They're not dynamic products. That is a special MIS systems that is called in our vertical industry. Special systems tailored for the printing and packaging companies, and those would be standard systems as well. So I mean, this is what's normal in this business.
Great. And I promised in the beginning already to introduce Kurt. Maybe I should have started with you, Kurt. But maybe for those that do not know you, maybe a short intro from yourself.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me again. It's good to be here again, and also being here with Kasper. I've been in the Microsoft ecosystem as well since '96. Joined Microsoft in I think it was 2006. So almost 20 years. And I've got, over the past decade, I've basically really developed two passions. One is ISVs. So I've had the pleasure to work with Kasper quite a bit over the last years. But then the second passion is partner capacity. So really building out this business, and we're doing all kinds of initiatives in that space. So that's kind of if you want to summarize me in a few words, it's ISVs and partner capacity.
Yeah.
Thanks, and it's really amazing to have Kasper here on the show, because he's been in this ecosystem for such an amazing long time, and he's built up such success. I had the pleasure to attending a partner event of Kasper last week. He brought together some of his resellers, and it was actually resellers from all over the world, and I was super amazed by the enthusiasm and the positive spirit in that event. So first of all, congratulations for building out that partner ecosystem. My question to you, Kasper, would be what's your secret sauce to build out such a great partner community?
I don't know if there's a secret sauce. If you've been doing something consistently for a long time, you do lots of errors and lots of things that are not working, but eventually you will hit something that's working as well. So I think that's just the secret. It is for us. It is to be very true to our strategy. As I said, we had the same strategy from day one, and one of the hardest things about having a strategy is the times when you have to say no, because no, this does not fit our strategy. No, we have a customer that would pay us a gazillion money to do this and that for them, and so on. And you say, this is not our strategy. This is not what we do. And that's the tricky part. It is. Yeah. But I mean, we have always been. I mean, I've had the luxury of being a small company, not having to be a lot focused on short-term revenue and being responsible for investors that I should report to every quarter or something like that. So that is a bit of luxury, because then you can set a long-term strategy and decide this is what we're doing here.
Yeah, from a strategy perspective, we've been working together for so many years now, and I remember that the moment that you went from on-premise to the cloud with your solution, that you also took the decision to move away from implementing directly and become a true ISV. Tell us a little bit about that. And shift was awkward for you. I remember that you had some double feelings with it, but how do you feel about it today? To have that fixed strategy of being an ISV?
Well, actually, I have to correct you a little there, because that happens a long time before that. I think it's 15 years ago or something. We actually stopped selling directly. In the beginning, when we started, we saw Denmark as our home market, and then we were growing. Then we were growing a partner channel meanwhile. But at one point we could see, for us, at least, it did not work. At the same time, trying to be a reseller at one point at the day, and then being an ISV that was truly caring about our partners. We tried different things with that. We tried to do a separate company that would be the Danish reseller, and then trying to have thick walls between those two departments and so on. And it might work for some, but for us it did not work at all. It would always be the customers you were talking to directly that would have much more attention than the customers that were handled by a partner. So I think it's 15 years ago actually we stopped selling directly in Denmark as well, and recruited a Danish reseller as well. So we have Danish resellers as well. So that was an interesting shift. It was definitely an interesting shift, because there was also, at that point in time, of course, you had some people that were used to going to customers and doing the things directly, and it is difficult sitting on the side and looking at, we would have done this differently, but let's see how we can support our partners in doing this instead.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I mean, it's the grass is always greener on the other side of the gate. Yeah. So at least once a year, somebody will come to me, and typically my partner manager or something, saying, Kasper, we should go direct instead. This is, and then we sit down and we talk about that, and then we agree, okay, just this is not what we do. We are not good at that.
Yeah. That consistency of what you just talked about.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, Kasper, so 15 years ago, you were selling direct, or 16 years ago. Then you mentioned at a certain moment you said we're going indirect, looking for partners. So today you're not selling anything anymore directly to.
We're not selling anything directly, and I mean we also had partners basically from day one, but we had our own home market. So for the first 10 years, it must be more or less. We had Denmark as our own home direct market, and then we were selling through partners in the rest of the world. And then around 15 years ago, we gave up on that as well, and are totally indirect. So no, we do not sell anything directly. And this is one of the tough parts. I mean, you would have a customer calling us, and of course the customer wants to buy from us. It's one of the things that is getting. It's one of the things that are getting a bigger part of our daily day, I have to say. It's one of the things we have seen changing the last 5 years or something like that. That we were. If you asked me 5 years ago, I would say our job is to do the great software that works for the industry and the standard software, and then it's up to our partners to market and sell it and so on. That would be the model. That we have had to change a bit. We can see that we are much more involved in the marketing, in lead generation, in the entire pre-sales process. So the point where we stop being in contact with the lead and then moving it to a partner, that has moved a lot down the funnel. We can see customers are, as customers are much more searching on the internet, and as the product has gone on cloud, I mean, we will be much more exposed to customers or to prospects. So that has been a learning for us.
And that's, we're coming back to the secret sauce thing. That's probably part of your secret sauce, because you're really helping your reseller on all aspects of the business, right? From the marketing, the pre-sales, the implementation, and the support. And I think that's key. So for you, in a partner program, what's key for you in a partner program? You talked about helping them in marketing, helping them in pre-sales. If there's ISVs out there still looking for resellers, what is it that they really need to keep in mind when building out a good partner program?
I think in general, there's a very, very big difference in being a horizontal ISV and being a vertical ISV. It is two different worlds. I think that's one of the things we often have to find out and can see when we meet different ISVs and we talk about our challenges and so on. We every time can see, well, there's a world of difference being horizontal and being vertical. being a vertical ISV, and this is my world, this is what I know. I mean, we are not looking, our goal is not to have as many resellers as possible. Not at all. I mean, being a vertical ISV, we need resellers to be a reseller for a vertical ISV. That is a strategic decision for the reseller. It's not something you just, let's try it out in a few projects and see how this works. I mean, this is our partner channel are dedicated to this vertical. Most of them will have hired people in from the industry to be able to speak the lingo and be able to serve that industry. So we are constantly looking for resellers that want to make this strategic move of focusing on one specific vertical. So it's not just us focusing on our vertical. It's our entire partner community focusing on a vertical, on our vertical. And that also means that the onboarding process for a partner is complicated. I mean, it's not easy. You don't become an industry specialist overnight and by studying a product 4 hours and that's it. So the onboarding process and the investment for us in building partner relationship is quite huge.
Yeah. So opportunistic approach is not something that you encourage.
Not at all. No.
Not at all. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Kasper, can you share a bit about how many partners you have roughly? Yeah. And they're like worldwide, or are you specific Europe only, or US Europe?
No, we are. Sorry. We have I think we have customers in around 40 something countries, and currently we have a partner channel of around 30 partners, which is a nice number. It's a manageable number for us. It's not that we don't want to grow. We definitely have some white spaces. We have some geographies where we are not yet covered that we are focusing a lot on. Our main markets are Europe, because this is where we started, and the last 7-8 years we have seen a very big growth in US as well. We have customers in Asia. That has been difficult since COVID. We saw a drop in Asia in COVID, and that really hasn't picked up yet. We start seeing a lot of interest from countries like India, Pakistan, and so on. Yeah. So these are areas that we are definitely looking into.
Because I'm just thinking out loud here, is your business very correlated to e-commerce boom? Printing, packaging?
Probably yes, it is. I mean, especially packaging, and a lot of people would think when you say you're in printing, they'll say, well, printing is dead. I mean, nobody's printing books and magazines and so on, and that is true. Printing is changing a lot. What we see is that the entire packaging industry and label industry is booming. So yes, with a lot of web shops and so on, that gives a lot of packaging needs. And we can see a lot of especially in packaging for food and so on, that's an almost exploding, area here.
So where's the biggest opportunities that you said, like if there's partners out there that are still looking for a vertical solution to take on, what are some of the top countries where you want to be more active into?
Well, we would like to be active everywhere, right? But in
your top three.
But our top 3 focus right now would be France, where we are not covered way enough. The packaging industry in France is very, very big. We are not represented enough in UK, but we have partners starting in UK, which we are very happy for. And Germany is an enormous big market in Europe as well. So the 3 big ones in Europe would be France, Germany, and UK.
3 huge markets for Business Central overall.
Oh yeah, that is true. That's true. But not in the printing and packaging industry. I mean, that's one of the fun things of being a vertical as well. When we go to trade shows and so on, we don't see Dynamics, we don't see Business Central, we don't see Microsoft there. That's the entire industry here is kind of a white spot for Microsoft.
Yeah, great opportunity. what's some of the challenges that keeps you awake? I mean, if it keeps you awake, like what are some of the things that you wish that you could find a magic solution for?
Well, I think the challenges that everybody has in this industry is capacity. When I think of capacity, it is not just having more people implementing the same way that we have always been implementing. That's to me not the right way to solve the capacity issue. Yeah. What we see is, and what we're constantly working on and struggling with, is to find ways to do more standardized implementation. Being able to do rapid implementations, being able to basically turn the concept of implementations so that we are not typically, when you see a project implementation, right? You do a long implementation and you scope out everything this customer would ever need, and then you work on that in an implementation process, and then it takes forever. And then when the implementation process is done, circus moves to the next town, and this customer is left alone with whatever system he has here. And we would really like to turn that upside down and see, we want customers to go into a phase of continuous improvement. And we are not shy to tell customers that, when are you done implementing your ERP system? The answer to that is never. When are you done optimizing your business? Hopefully never, ever. Yeah. So we want customers to move into a phase of continuous improvement. Yeah. But we want customers then to move into that phase of continuous improvement as fast as possible, so we can do standardized implementations and then have customers develop from there constantly. This is mostly what keeps us awake at night. That is working on project models, on implementation procedures, on tools for doing that, and then getting that out through our partner community, that this is the way we want to do implementations.
Yeah, interesting.
Can I create what you just mentioned, Kasper, but also the printing packaging industry? When I hear that, I'm like, seems like a non innovative industry, and I know I'm wrong. To be clear, Kasper, I know it's every industry needs to innovate constantly. You mentioned how can we implement faster? How can we do projects smaller implement, or not smaller, quicker implementation? But that brings me also to innovation. So not only Microsoft, I think the whole technology industry is rapidly innovating. From a cloud perspective, the cloud services today, the kind of buzzword is AI and Copilot.
Yeah.
But from a Printvis innovation perspective, how do you decide where to innovate and how to innovate and how to bring that to customers? Because customer might say, like, Printvis, are you there again with new innovations? Stop, I cannot follow. while at the same time that this industry, I'm sure, is innovating also in a rapid way. So how do you keep that balance? How do you manage that?
Yeah, well, luckily, and this is one of the reasons we chose this industry, is because, on contrary to what a lot of people think, this industry is insanely innovative. So our customers are constantly pushing us for new innovations, new ways of doing things, and so on. For two reasons. I mean, one of them is sustainability, right? So our customers in packaging constantly has to work on a new way of replacing plastic with new innovative ways of doing packaging and so on. I'll not get started on that, because then I can spend the next hours going into different ways of doing doing stuff. Next podcast. But we are constantly being pushed by our customers to be innovative. The biggest struggle our customers have is basically the same as this industry have. It is resources, it's capacity. As production, because the technology in the industry has done that we can do much shorter runs. So where previously, when you would print something, you would have, very big quantities. Now, because of digital technology, you can go online and order 100 business cards or 50 business cards or something, right? Which means that the orders are a lot smaller. And that, of course, means that for companies, in order to keep up the same revenue, they need to handle a lot more orders. So our customers have to manage 10 times as many orders as they had to do 10 years ago in order to keep the same revenue. And that for them, of course, means a struggle on the admin capacity of order intake, on managing orders, on scheduling orders and estimating orders and so on. And they all know that the one solution for that is the ERP system. This is what we are doing. And this is where they have the pain point. So our innovation that we are pushed by our customers is constantly of automizing, being able to do job intake, use AI to do job intake more intelligent. And so basically, our customers are spending less time on managing each order because they simply have to, otherwise they get too expensive. So automation is a very, very big, the very big key here. So we have a long backlog. I mean, we get input from our partners. We run user groups where we meet the end users, and we constantly have an enormous backlog of things we want to do that we want to innovate. And then every now and then, of course, we look over the shoulder and say, oh, Microsoft is doing something as well, and we need to fit that in. And of course, we look at what is coming. I mean, we have an enormous backlog of things we would like to do in our product. And of course, we then look at where is Microsoft moving? What are they doing in the next release? Let's take those areas in our backlog that fits together with what Microsoft is changing here. So we try to leverage that as well.
And is most of your innovation happening within the Business Central world, or are you also looking at Azure services? I'm looking at Power Platform, Power Automate, because you mentioned automation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Power Automate. Is that something that you're looking at or using already?
We are not using Power Automate very much right now. I would say that is probably mostly because we haven't gotten to it yet. To be honest, I mean, there's only so many things we can do, but also because we still haven't cracked the golden ticket of how to bundle that as a standard solution. We see that more as a tool for our resellers, and we can see our resellers are using that a lot. So we see our part in that is to make the right events ready, the back-end functionality, the web services needed, the queries, and then the resellers using that as a tool. That will probably change in the next years, but this is how we see it now. But we use all different kinds of tools. I mean, when we do automation, we integrate to other vendors in this industry. So the machine vendors, we are gathering production data and so on. So lots of automation constantly and lots of integrations always.
I think that makes a lot of sense, that you as an ISV basically prepare everything for your resellers. If you would have a crystal ball and you look into the future of your solution, let's say within 5 to 10 years ahead, like take us take us along with, like, where do you see the role of AI and Copilot in your solution? You talked about it already briefly a little bit ago, but I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Like, how do you think that AI and Copilot is going to revolutionize your world?
That's a tough one, right? Because there's so many areas where we see AI playing a role. We can see that already now. I mean, we are not the only ones serving our customers. I mean, our customers are being served by a lot of other software vendors that are doing their production software, printing, controlling printing machines, controlling setup and stuff like that. And already here we start seeing AI being introduced, and especially for us, it would be in areas like order intake, defining a packaging or printing product is a complicated process. I mean, you would need some AI guidance to find out what are the right sizes you should do if you do this and that and so on, and make sure that is working. We also see and try to look at AI in the entire processing of doing estimations. I mean, one of the big pain points for our customers that we work with is basically find out a customer calls you, wants to do some kind of product that has not been done before. What is the price for that? This is basically one of the core issues that our product fix, right? What is the price? Because if margins are low, and if you give a price that's too high, you will not get the job. If you give a price that's too low, you will get the job and lose money on it. So it's extremely important to find the right price. What is your cost? Yeah. But what we can then start using AI for is also to see, okay, so this is the cost. This is what I should offer to, if I offer this price to the customer, I will not lose money on it. But what if we can start analyzing, not on the way we produce it, but on the customer attributes, and saying, this is this kind of customer. Our customers have an enormous database of tens, thousands of quotes that they have given over the last years to different customers. Some of them they won, and some of them they lost. And can we start analyzing that and getting customers in and saying, well, this customer is asking for this kind of brochure. This customer is geography. He's placed here. Is this a marketing agency calling, or is it a production guy? What kind of company is he from? And based on all that, trying to figure out, okay, Printvis, you tell us this is the cross price that will get the margin. But what if the customer is willing to accept a higher price? Right? What is the highest possible price that we could offer this customer and say, well, you have to give him this price in order not to lose money on it. But we think with an 80% probability, he will actually accept this price because, what we're trying to replace, and this is again capacity, in all the print shops in the old days, you would have an old estimator sitting, and he would have the good Danish Belgian words, fingerspitzgefühl, knowing, this customer, what is the right price for this customer? What car is he driving? Let's see, this is what you should pay. And another customer would come in and ask for exactly the same product, but he would get another price based on this gut feeling. And, if we can change this gut feeling and use AI for that, then we've gotten into something interesting.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, the plane companies have been doing that for years, probably, right? The airline companies have probably been doing that for years. They know when I Google for tickets on a Saturday night, it's probably more expensive than, is it Tuesday morning that's most cheap or something like that, right? That's
so you need two PCs, one blank.
Oh yeah.
History. But Kasper, time flies.
Oh, yes.
Already more than half an hour passed. So it brings us to kind of the last question, and there's certain topic we didn't talk about, so we'll need to schedule a second podcast maybe in a year or 2 years. Kasper, you're a long-time Microsoft partner, Navision Navigator partner, but from a Microsoft perspective, what would you suggest to Microsoft that would help not only your business but most of the ISV Business Central businesses worldwide in becoming more successful? What are your call it blockers or opportunities that you think like, hey, if Microsoft would help me there or support us as a team, as an ISV team, how would that stimulate your business?
I think the biggest problem we have there right now, but I'm also sure when we meet again in 1 year, this will be fixed. But the biggest issue we have right now is actually the Microsoft Partner Program for ISVs, or at least vertical ISVs. That is that used to work great. We have changed the partner program, or Microsoft has changed the partner program, and I honestly think basically you've forgotten the indirect ISVs. Because we don't really fit into any boxes anymore. We're suddenly out.
So can I pause here, because I'm missing to a certain extent some background. What was good before? What is missing today in that program? And what should we add again in that program, or add extra in the current ISV program that would help you and your indirect resellers or your resellers?
Well, as it is of today with the current partner program we're running today, I think the partner programs are tailored totally to direct selling. We as Microsoft partners are being measured on our direct sale period. And since I'm only doing indirect sale, I don't really exist anymore in the Microsoft systems. I mean, when one of my Kurt met my resellers, they all sell Printvis, and if you go to my end user conferences and ask them what product they will have Printvis, and some of them will know, oh, by the way, we also have BC. I mean, this is being sold together. But in the current partner programs, that indirect revenue that we are generating can no longer be measured. So it is just being measured as one of my resellers is selling BC and another reseller is selling BC. And if in the partner program you look at what is Printvis doing, nothing. So, it's like the good old days. We are back 20 years ago, where every now and then I would get a visit from somebody from Microsoft saying, we can see you're not selling very much. Have you considered starting selling some Office products or something like that? Because we need you to do Microsoft revenue. Where we say, well, we are doing nothing else every day, but it's just not on your radar right now. I'm also sure that when we talk in a year from now, this is
going to be resolved.
This is going to be resolved, yes.
You're absolutely right that, we currently only measure based upon revenue performance, and you are not really a direct seller. In my view, and that's my personal view, is that, sellers needs to be measured based upon their sales performance. ISVs need to be measured based upon usage of their software. You see that the whole Microsoft is actually moving in that direction. And rest assured, we know exactly how much usage your software is generating. And, it's not really visible in programs yet, but as you said, like very soon, that's going to be resolved.
Yeah.
The fundamentals for these programs are actually already been built. And we talked about that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
With great insights, Kasper. Thank you for sharing that. So, for instance, one topic I would love to talk about, but then again, a next follow-up topic is app source.
Oh yes, yeah.
Well, I know. So also there, I think we're making progress. Maybe not as fast as we should, but again, we're making progress. But
we're actually quite happy with app source and there's so many topics we could go into, right? And
so, Kasper, let's
see in a year from now and where we are with partner programs and transactability and app source and lots of other topics here. Yeah.
Indeed. That will be for our next podcast, and we will schedule one. Rest assured, I'm going to put it in my agenda. But Kasper, thank you very much for joining this podcast. Very insightful for me. I learned, you might not notice, but I did learn a lot about Printvis, because of certain things you said, like the complexity behind Printvis, or that you are encountering with your customers or the customers of your customers. But so thank you very much. Also, Kurt, thank you again for joining. Very fun to have this podcast together. Really great. Hope to talk to you very soon, Kasper.
Well, thank you.
Have a very good day, and talk soon. Kurt, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.